Hey, Boaz here from Next Pittsburgh. We are here in a corner of Schenley Park for another installment of Yinzer Backstage Pass. We're going to meet up with some folks from the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy to find out what they're doing now to plan for the future of Pittsburgh parks. We've got Jackie and Robin over here who both work in the horticulture and forestry department. And so we're in sort of a secret spot on the corner of the park. So what are we looking at right now?
So we are looking at a tree research grove. So we're looking at 3 separate plantings for yellowwood.
So when did you plant these trees?
These went in the fall of 2019, so we're about in the 3rd season for these guys.
Well, can we pop inside and get a closer look?
Sure. Yeah, so we keep these all this fencing up to help with deer and bunnies, so we can allow humans in here. So You're not a deer or bunny, so we'll be good to go.
Okay, I passed the test. So basically, this is sort of like a living laboratory where you're sort of testing out different kinds of trees. Although I guess these are all yellowwood. So what is the difference between these yellowwood trees?
Well, the difference is they all are grown from seed. So when you typically buy a tree from a nursery, it comes from a cutting or a clone. But when you grow a tree from a seedling, there is more genetic diversity when you grow that tree. So say different diseases or different pests come along, a genetically diverse tree is far more in-depth to take on any of those pathogens or disease that might come along.
So basically, I mean, if you grow these trees here for a decade, whichever tree succeeds, you automatically know is a tree that's best suited for Pittsburgh's parks because it's already thrived here.
Yes. These are more common in the southern states like Tennessee, Kentucky. But yes, we are trying to see if these guys do well in the Pittsburgh landscape. We have seen some in the woodlands that are doing well, so we are testing these guys to see if they are going to live up to their name.
And so why do you have to do an experiment like this? Like, are there trees dying off in the forests here? What are you reacting to when you create an experiment like this?
Well, yellowwoods are a tree that don't really have a lot of disease or pest problems. Unlike the oaks, there's oak wilt that has moved through a lot of the parks. We are seeing emerald ash borer that took a lot of the ash trees down. And the newest one is the spotted lanternfly. So we are trying to combat all of these different environmental and ecological issues. So we're trying out a tree species that we know doesn't have any really bad pest or diseases going on with them. We're trying to think of climate change too. So obviously the world is warming up with climate change. So if these guys do well in the south, who's to say they won't do well in the north as we're getting warmer?
Okay, yeah, they'll sort of migrate a few hundred miles up here.
Yeah.
And so we got Robin over here, and Robin, you're less involved with this grove, but you're more involved with what's happening in the forests in Pittsburgh parks right now.
Yep, I work more on the ecological restoration projects in the parks, so we do a lot of tree planting of, honestly, trees about this size to help regenerate forest where our big trees have come down from the various diseases and pests in general, like just pollution and old age, like Jackie was mentioning.
And one thing I've noticed is while walking through Frick Park in that 9-mile run area, you see, well, I haven't seen the beavers, but you see sort of the evidence that there are beavers there because you see all these trees that have been cut down, and gnawed down. So, I mean, I think it's probably great to have beavers. They're a native species, but it's also like probably a bummer if you went and planted a ton of trees and then the next week the beavers ate them all.
Yeah, that's a really challenging one because, like you said, they're a native species and we want them to have good habitat in this region, but because Pittsburgh is highly developed, there's not as much space for them to have their space and us also to have our space. And we have a lot of threats to our young trees right now, so it's also challenging because deer and rabbits and groundhogs will eat a lot of our baby trees. So having one more species that can actually come in and get the trees when they're bigger, the trees get to the size that the deer aren't really a problem for them. They're big enough that they can't be browsed, the bucks aren't going to rub their bark, and then a beaver comes in and still takes them out. It's like, oh no, what are you doing? So it is a challenge. I know that I'm not super directly involved with it, but there has been some work and conversation working with some wildlife biologists to figure out what the plan will really be. There are some side tributaries that they're thinking about maybe trying to move them that way.
It'll be like Beaverland over there.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I think relocation has been considered, but honestly, I'm not going to say anything else because I'm not that involved with the project, so I don't want to, mislead anyone with the wrong information.
Okay, I'm going to ask you all a tough question. What is your favorite Pittsburgh park?
Well, I have to say Schenley because I am Miss Schenley, so I spend most of my time in Schenley Park. So that would be my favorite.
Is there a corner of Schenley Park that you like especially love that maybe some people haven't been to?
Westinghouse Pond, right down the road, is a really beautiful area where you see a lot of different small animals like frogs and turtles and ducks. And I feel like a lot of people don't even know where that place is.
Yeah, well, you can't quite see it. It's right behind us back there, but I love that spot too. It is so cool.
Right, yeah, and the it's really beautiful right now because the magnolias are all blooming, so it looks really beautiful.
Okay, come on down and check that out. And Robin, what do you think?
That's a really hard question. I even had all of Jackie's answer to brainstorm, and I still don't. I don't have a clear answer. I like a lot of our bigger parks because they have more contiguous forest, a little more going on in that realm. But recently, a lot of our greenways were actually designated as parks. So we have 6 new, very large spaces that are officially parks. So I might have to point at some of those. Seldom Seen Greenway is now officially a park, and that's a really awesome space. That it might win as my favorite. I'll say that.
I tried to go there once and I couldn't figure out how to get there. That's
Yes.
why it's seldom seen, I guess.
There we go. Yeah. Honestly, I'm so bad with directions. I'm not going to try. I'm sorry. I put it into Google and I follow the directions on Google Maps.
Fair enough. And so how will you know if this experiment, this research grove, is a success?
Well, we are looking for certain parameters. So we are looking for trees. These guys grow about 1 foot a year. So we are looking for the ones that are about 3 feet right now. We're also looking for a good shape as well as flowering, but we won't know that for about 10 years now.
Oh my gosh, you have to be so patient. Are you going to still work here then? Are you sure?
I hope so. I really hope so. I've been here for about 7 years, so.
Oh my gosh, 7 years. Okay, yeah, you can make it for sure. And are there any things people can do at home to support, Pittsburgh parks, or things they can do, whether it's volunteer or they can plant a yellowwood in their backyard to help the research?
Well, they could plant a yellowwood in their backyard, but it is going to get to about 50 feet. If it really, really loves the spot, it could get all the way up to 75. So you want the right conditions. So anytime that you plant a tree, you want to see what zone you're in, the light requirements, the water requirements before you put it into the ground. Because we'd rather see a tree survive than one that gets planted and then eventually dies. But it's always good to come out and support and volunteer. We are a nonprofit, so we do work off a lot of donations, and coming out and just supporting the parks and just enjoying the parks is the best support.
Gosh, well, that's easy. Can they go volunteer with you, Robin?
We do have a lot of volunteer opportunities. I would direct people to our website. We do a lot of group volunteer activities, so if you have a club or your business organization wants to volunteer, you can submit a request through our website, and we look for where we can match groups based on their size or where they're interested with the needs we have in the parks. So I would definitely suggest people check that out. Yeah, there's always a lot to be done. And like Jackie said, I think just getting out and appreciating your parks, kind of paying attention to what's really growing there, what's living and doing well and what isn't, I think that's a really great thing people can do to support the parks in general. It's just really trying to get to know them. That appreciation, I think, goes a long way too.
That's awesome. Well, you heard him. Come out and visit some Pittsburgh parks this spring and summer. And if you make it to Schenley, you can come check out this tiny forest of yellowwood trees. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you so much, Baz.